All right, so obviously today's our writing professional development session. I'm going to give you a lot of information about padding the prompt and how important that is that you do that. We're going to talk about coding the text. And for those of you who have had my other lessons that I've taught, we are going to do, I think it's a simpler kind of graphic organizer. If you're more comfortable with the other kind, it's really the same idea. But especially people who are brand new, this may be easier for you and for the students because it's more of a kind of like a bubble map. All right. So when we're thinking about the steps for planning, we're going to always make sure that we set up our planning sheet. We always need to pat that prompt first, reading the sources, code the text, and then we're going to use that to do our planning sheet. So this is just our basic kind of summary of the steps that we're going to go over today. All right. Does anybody not know what it means to pat the prompt by any chance?
Me? Sorry.
You're fine. Okay, so when we talk about pat the prompt, we're thinking about setting a purpose for our writing. And the way that we're going to pat the prompt is we have to look at the actual prompt. So you really want to encourage your students that they need to look immediately at the very last page, because what's going to happen if you do not train them, they're going to start reading their passages and their sources, okay? And so it is not going to go well for them. They're not going to know the purpose. So for that reason, you are going to need to teach them to pat the prompt. And so you're going to actually have that chance to do it. So if everybody has paper, if you can get just the sheet of paper, that would be awesome. So anybody have just a plain piece of paper? And for those of you who've done it before, you are going to fold it initially, just folding it into a trifold. I think most of us know how to do it. So it has 3 parts, like hot dog style. So folding it where you have it in 3 parts. So let me grab a sheet of paper to do. You have your paper. Make sure the kids know it doesn't matter if the 3 parts are not perfect. So they're gonna fold it one time. And then fold it the second time. And then they'll have 3 lines. So it's going to be in 3 parts. The reason we do that is that it will remind them that they have to do all 3 parts to know how to be prepared to actually write about the prompt. And I'm going to show you exactly how to write it. I just wanted to make sure you knew how to fold it for them. You're going to be looking at P, which is the purpose. So they need to look at that prompt and they need to decide, am I writing an informative essay or am I writing an opinion essay? Make sure you're focusing on the fact that with informative, that's going to be facts all from the passage, okay? And with the opinion, they're going to have to choose a side. So it's going to be either for something or against something, or today I'm just focusing really on informative, but I can also talk to you about opinion. It's a little different. When we think about the audience is who's going to read the essay. I'll be honest with you, I have my kids just write FSA so that they're used to the fact that someone from who scores and who grades the FSA, they're going to be the one who will be reading it, but the reality is we know you're going to be reading it. If you want them to just put an educated adult, that would be an option. And then the last part is going to be the task. Okay, so looking at that, let me see, I have two people. If you'll give me just a sec. Mr. Murphy wants to join writing. That's funny.
That's funny.
When you're thinking about that, you're making sure that they're really focused on what it is that they're writing about.
So if you want to do a Kahoot and assign it to, for example, a small group for them to do in a center.
Can you mute everybody maybe?
Yeah, that's
Sounds like somebody's like had another session or something.
Can you tell me how? Because remember, I'm not the computer savvy person.
I think if you go to,
My e-learning people probably know how. Help
I don't hear,
me!
I don't hear it anymore.
You
I
have
think
to go, yeah, you
Go into, let's see which one it is.
I
just
don't.
each picture and hit mute. That's all.
Ah, that's how you do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
because
don't
you're
want
the
to.
host.
I don't want to mute you guys. I
I
don't.
I
If I,
Lloyd's trying to get whoever's there to move or something. so.
okay, I was gonna say. I think that sounded like Mr. Santos, and
Probably Coach
I
Murphy.
really want you to be able to talk to me.
It was me, Han. He said he's okay.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Go ahead. Sorry. Keep going.
No. You're fine. You're fine. All right. So on that planning sheet, in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. But the thing about the planning sheet, just a little bit of important advice for you, is I would recommend that you always use the FSA style planning sheet. And I will send you an email with that link where you can, it's actually a Word document, so you can use that every time. And the reason you want to do that is so that students are used to it. Because when they get that planning sheet, one side is going to be blank and one side is going to have lines on it. And so let me show you what it looks like. So this is the planning sheet. And so if they're not familiar with that, if they're always using blank paper or anything else, then it's going to be a little confusing to them. And
Sharon,
so again,
are you trying to share it?
what's that? Yeah,
Are you showing it?
it was sharing and then,
If you're opening a new tab, you have to reshare.
reshare. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so click share screen again and then click on the document, like from
Thank
Word.
you. New
okay.
share, I see it. You guys are awesome. Thank you. And there it is. Should be. Is that coming up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you can show it. Yeah. So this is
Okay.
the one side and it will always, when the kids see it on test day, it'll be yellow. So
Right.
something I did and I am willing to do is if you guys decide, okay, we're ready, we're going to use it. I don't mind getting the copies run. So everybody has their class set. You want to show the back too, Singleton?
Mm-hmm.
So it prints, if you print it front to back, it looks like that. And then the back sheet has this box of lines.
Right. And this is all they get. So if they run out of space on this, too bad. They have to use this one. And you have to remind them that it's not going to be scored. So if they write, and I'm telling you right now, some of them are going to write their entire essay on this planning sheet, and then they're just going to copy it as the test. It happens. It doesn't matter how much you train them. It's like they forgot everything that you say, and you're like, ah, you didn't pat your prompt. You didn't think about what kind of essay. You didn't think about your task. So be prepared. It's gonna happen. So this is not going to be scored no matter what they put on there. They can actually go off the lines or anything else. Unlike the actual test part, when they have to write, all of this portion that's on the white, that part cannot be scored. So if they're writing their actual essay, and let's say they need space to write another word on the side, that word is, it's like it's not there. It's invisible, it's gone. They don't grade it. All right, so now I have to go back to new share, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
gonna
share
change it.
screen
Mhm.
and then go back to your PowerPoint.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go. Good
You
job.
guys are saving me. Now I can do e-learning. I can leave school. Not.
Teach.
It would not be my thing. All right, so this is the example of the writing prompt, and this was actually used for 5th grade. And so it said, write an informative essay. The first thing I have them do when they're padding that prompt is they need to either box or circle what kind of essay it is, because it's going to tell them if it's an informative or it's an opinion. That totally changes how they're going to write based on whether it is the informative or opinion. And then we're looking for our task of what we're going to be looking for when we're reading our sources, okay, and what we're going to be writing about. So it says that explains how people use waste in a helpful way. So what I recommend is that they put it in a question. How do people use waste in a helpful way? That means throughout the entire text that they're reading, they're only looking at ways that you can use waste in a helpful way, because kids find things that are interesting and they want to add that to their essay. The only thing they need to be looking at is how they use it and how they use the waste in a helpful way. Right? So now what I want you to do is, with your paper that you have, I want you to go ahead and set up your planning sheet.
Paper.
You have not done it on your own, which maybe some of you have. The P, remember, that's the purpose. The purpose is going to be the informative essay. The next part is the A, so that's the audience. Who's going to be reading it? Because obviously, if a student's going to be reading what you're writing, it's going to be written a lot different than somebody who is educated. And again, like I said, I always had them put FSA because it was a few letters and it gave them the idea of who their audience will be when it comes to the actual FSA. And the final thing is the T, which is the task. So that's where they're writing what they're going to be writing about.
I find too that, like what Singleton was saying for audience, when you say teacher, they know it has to be like written without text talk, and like you may have to say that to them.
Exactly.
When you write to me, I expect you to use like language like we practice. So
Yes.
some kids are going to try to like put text talk in there. And if they do it like in an elaborative form, like say there's something and it's cute, they can do it a little bit, but I wouldn't encourage that. You know what I mean? Sometimes they could have it once and it's okay, but we don't want to see that like throughout the essay.
Right. Yeah, so instead of you, they may just Y-O-U, they may just put you. I've seen that. Or just, you know, just a few letters.
I lie to them when like we've been working on one, and I tell them, oh, well, I'm gonna give these to Miss Glasgow or Miss Singleton because she is the writer, in charge of the writing for the school, and she wants to see how you guys are doing. they're like, oh my gosh, like it, but it gives them that pressure like they would have for
Yep.
the FSA too.
Exactly.
Even though I'm not gonna make you guys grade them, but they don't need that.
You're welcome to share with us though, because we'd love
Yeah.
to read. Then we can make it really true, Miss Shivers.
Right, definitely.
I'll give you all of my essays to grade, sure.
Oh, no, we're not grading. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
So in the middle part, obviously, as you see, as we're going to be making our map, that again is our task. So that's what you would put in the
Oh,
middle.
I'm
So-
saying, we'll never get this done.
I have a question for you,
Much.
Ms. Wilson. like-
Uh-huh.
I got a question. How do you transfer these automatically when you just press?
Murphy, turn off your microphone.
touch.
I was just going to do that. I muted him.
Okay.
He's out of here.
When we're doing this, how is this? I see that on the planning sheet that you have it in 3 sections. But when they get their books for the real FSA, how are they able to fold those?
Oh, that's a good question. You actually get an extra sheet of paper. The planning sheet is not attached to the book.
And I should say that
What?
for the district ones, it was in the book. I will, for the next district one, run the separate copies for you guys so they can get used to it not being in the book. The district does that to save on copies, but I want kids to see it. And so I apologize, that one came fast. But our next district writing, I'll give it to this paper to you on yellow for them to have. And that's why I like you guys to have them practice on it too, so they're familiar with it. But yeah, it's normally not part of the actual, like where they respond for the state test.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you can practice it before, because obviously in the end, it's not going to be attached. And like she said, when you do the next practice, we'll have it that way for you. All right, so now we're going on to our actual source. If you look at the top, what I do is I have the students write the task at the top, at least on the first page, that first source, so that they continuously remember. The only thing I'm looking for, or they're looking for, is how do people use waste in a helpful way? Again, they're going to try to find things they think's really cool. They're going to tell you facts about stuff that's not related. But the reality is you don't care about that. That's not going to help them. That's not going to help their paper, their grade, their score. They need to look at paragraph by paragraph, how do people use the waste in a helpful way? What I always do to start off is model it. And so I will start by reading the passage. And once I've read, let's say, paragraph 1, I'll ask the students if they noticed a way that people can use waste in a helpful way. And so if they hear something, I'll be honest, and even Miss Conley was in there one day when I was doing it, instead of them raising their hand or whatever else, if they did notice something, I had them very quietly tap their feet so that I knew that they found something. You can come up with whatever, whatever thing that you think that would be good, but, something quiet, but a way that they're actually engaged in the text and they're looking for those ways that people use that waste in a helpful way. So I go paragraph by paragraph. And so we continue on, we continue through it. And if you look at, for example, paragraph 5, it says that they donate it or it's sold to places in need of technology. So as I'm reading, the student should start tapping their feet. If nobody does, then I'm gonna pause. I'm not gonna keep going and say, oh, well, they don't know it. I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna say, let's think again. I'm gonna reread. And if you notice something, same thing, I want you to tap your feet. And then I require them to tell me what they noticed. What was it that was a way that they're using the waste? So I'm not just telling them, I'm not saying, okay, we need to underline this, okay? They're telling me. You can go through and you can do, maybe you do all of source 1 that way. That's a possibility. And then you get to source 2, maybe you have them work and do the same thing with a partner. So that way it's like a gradual release. They're not on their own, because otherwise if they're doing it on their own, probably they're going to miss a lot of things. And what I always had them do is every time they underline something, we would go back to the question. So I would say, what's a way to use waste in a helpful way? And then I can see it says, I can learn a lot by studying the waste. Okay, so keep going back and forth. Prompt what I underline. Make sure they match, because they will underline things that don't match otherwise. So you have to have them continuously go back to the question and make sure that the question is being answered by the things they underline. I only did the 2 pages like that where I underline stuff. And now that I'm getting good at this, I know that I have to do a new share. And this is an example of one that is completed all together. So on this one, they actually are writing little notes as we go on. So for instance, the person who is doing this one is they're writing notes of things that'll help them. They can also add elaboration to it. So maybe they notice where it's talking about donations. And so they can think of, oh, I know what, you know what, we had some things donated to our classroom. So that's where we're adding more than just what the text says. And they can add that right in the margins. And so I'm just going to go through this slowly. And this will be recorded. I know I'm looking at the time, and that's why I'm suddenly speeding up a bit, because I want you to see everything. But you can see where the notes are written to the side. So it makes it easier for them to go back and know why they wrote it, why they underlined it.
And I don't remember that. I don't know if all of the 4th grade ones had that. So like as a teacher, like when I've done these before, I go through and mark it up what I would find. That doesn't mean it's all inclusive, but that's kind of like your prep for writing, is to kind of go through that process on the passage yourself. And then that gets you prepped for what the kids might select. And then if they pick something, you're like, oh wait, that I kind of looked at that, but it didn't really fit. You have that little bit of background. So that's just an idea for you guys planning.
This is what eventually you're going to get to as far as what their map would look like. So instead of all those columns that we did, those who were here with me last year, what we did is we had them write down everything they underlined and every paragraph they had it. And so this is going to take some training. So as they're reading it, we're trying to get them to make connections. You have to be thinking out loud as you're going through it and thinking when you're reading, oh, donating. Here's an example of donating. That's a way that we can help. We can study it. That's a way we can help, that it can help. We can recycle. All of these things, if you put that together, what you're looking at is actually potentially 4 main ideas. That's potentially looking at 4 different paragraphs in the text evidence. And so what I did, you can see where it talks about making art. So I just put P6, that means in paragraph 6. We know that people can use waste to make art. And they'll know where to go back into that text. So I did it for for a few of them just to kind of help you to see. I know that this is going to be quite a process if you're starting it out. I have no problem meeting with anyone. I can even go the next step where we take that graphic organizer and actually use it to write. And so don't be afraid to reach out to me. I only bite on Fridays, so you're okay if you don't ask me today. So don't worry about that. But anything I can do to help, I'm sorry that I can't like be right there with you. And that's my thing. Sitting here teaching in front of a computer is a little challenging for me because I'm a hands-on people person. And so talking to a screen is kind of awkward, but don't be afraid to ask me anything. I know some of this is probably confusing since we had to do it in 30 minutes. I know you probably have more questions. I can send the PowerPoint to you automatically. I'll also send you the planning sheet. So you'll have that you can make copies of. And anything else I can do, of course, that video is going to be posted also on YouTube. But we only have a couple minutes. But if you had a question for either Jenny or myself.
Yeah. I just want to say too, like I did model this for some classes last year, and I have videos of me actually in a 4th grade classroom and 5th grade classroom modeling this. Not this exact prompt, but I can get you guys access to those videos too. And I can come, like if there's a certain section you're having trouble with and we meet to plan, I would come and model it in your classroom if you want to see a specific part, like how I might do it. And what Singleton was saying too on this, your kids don't have to have 4 paragraphs of content.
No.
The essay says multi-paragraph. For your lowest kids, a 3-paragraph essay will do it. So they could hone in on recycling, and if that's all they got, we'd be happy. I like to at least have them have at least 2 main ideas so that they have 2 body paragraphs. That would be our goal. To me, about 4 paragraphs is our goal. So just kind of keep that in mind. So like the ones like recycle and donate had the most and are probably the easiest for the kids to write about. But your higher kids that need to be pushed, they should do that 3rd topic. So that's how you can differentiate to hit the needs of your different kids as well.
And they don't have to use all the sources either. So if you have somebody who really struggles with reading and it's going to take them an hour to read 3 of them and try to figure it out, honestly, go with 1. I mean, you know, encourage them, not during the test, don't say anything, but before then, I would have them to read less sources because they can probably get enough information and just use those sources instead of trying to get something out of each of those different texts.
Are we gonna, Miss Glasgow, like we're low on paper, so can you just do grade level copies for us for the planning sheets? Did she leave?
I was just gonna say, I think she left because she has a 9 o'clock, but I'll talk to her about that. And then also I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna send these things to you guys. I'm gonna send you a copy of that planning sheet. I'm gonna send you the PowerPoint, and I'll even send you the passages that I use to do this. That way maybe you can make a better connection once you're actually able to read it and you can see the examples. And so I will send all that to you today.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Well, you
and
did great.
I tried. So I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy your next session.
Ms. Singleton, before you leave,
Yes.
one source will work for FSA?
What's up?
One
Yes.
source will
One
work for
source
FSA?
will, but the
Yeah.
thing is they have to use that source. So they have to use it more than once. So they couldn't write just one sentence with one source, but if they used it multiple times, they're good.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't tell you that though.
No, you didn't, not at
No,
all.
I didn't.
I can't jeopardize the help I get from you at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Anytime. You guys know that 10 o'clock at night's fine. I'm here for you.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day, guys.
You too.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you, Samson. See you.
See ya later, alligator.
Bye.
Bye.